Welcome to another episode of Barbie and Saturdays, and it's finally time to talk about my final Barbie movie for this week, Barbie and Her Sisters in a Ponytail. And I suppose we should get the worst part of this movie out of the way first. I think the worst part of this movie is a horse kicking butt, and yeah, because those were wolves, man. Those were my bros. Have you seen the channel name? But in all seriousness, I'm not really angry about that. If I had to pick the real problem with this movie, it's that it's very, very predictable. You get set with a stock plot about Barbie and her sisters going to her aunt's riding school, and you eventually find out that riding school, is in financial distress, and they need to win the big competition coming up in order to get enough money to, put themselves back in the black and get on the good side of their creditors. So everything at that point just starts to fall into place, and they're like, the riding instructor has to compete in the big race. I'm like, well, then he has to get taken out somehow, some way, so Barbie can participate. And yep, that does happen. He doesn't offer the spot because Barbie's, a superior rider, from the States or anything. He's like, I'm gonna do it, until he ends up with a broken arm. So Barbie has to step in, take his spot. So yeah, like that's the biggest problem with this movie. It does it fairly well with the execution of all these plot points, so I can enjoy the movie, regardless of it being predictable. But it's hard to deny that if it being predictable would be a real annoyance for you, you're pretty much gonna hate this film because you're gonna be able to predict every plot beat basically as it happens. As they just slide into place one after another, like dominoes falling over. So yeah, everything else about the film, is pretty good. It's probably the most solid of the movies I watched, which just means everything else we're going to be discussing is going to be downhill from here, to various degrees, sadly. But yeah, I mean, if this was a Barbie movie, you saw on the shelf, and I'd be like, if you want to try a Barbie movie like this, would probably be one of the ones I'd recommend. Unlike, this thing. Till next time, then. See ya.